Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. All right, let's see. So today's tea time. Everybody can hear me good? Everybody's good? Everything's lagging for me, so if y'all need anything. Hello. So I'm watching it on my computer also, so I can, I can keep up with some of the chat. But stuff is down in the description below. No questions that are off topic will be answered. They'll be ignored. If you spam the chat, I'll kick you because other people have questions too. So just, be respectful. We all know the deal. It's the same thing as usual. But today we're talking about the tea time school thing that we had for this week, which was the Enneagram. This is my TED Talk on the Enneagram because I love the Enneagram. So I hope that for those of you who did the homework, found some insight, thought it was interesting because it's definitely one of the things that really connected to me. So hopefully, you'll find something interesting in there. I did leave some links down below that if you want to check out. I will be adding some podcasts also that talk about the Enneagram if you want to listen to those things, but they're not in there right now, but I'll add those after this live is over. So we have an hour. And so Alex's vlogs, the Enneagram is basically like a personality type of thing. Definitely check it out. Again, links down below, so check that out. But I will be explaining it as we go. So basically, the Enneagram is 9 types, right? So I've made some diagrams. So that is kind of what the Enneagram looks like. So the idea is that there are 9 types of personalities generally. And each person has a dominant type. So the dominant type, and then there are wings. And the wings are the numbers that are on the side. So say that you tested and you became a dominant type 9. Then your wings would either be a wing 1 and a wing 8. Okay? What that means is people will generally lean towards one or the other. So they will start to pick up personality traits of one or the other. You can definitely be in the middle. You can be a type 9 and have traits of both, or you might lean more towards the 8 or lean more towards the 1. And this can change depending on who this person is. This can change as the person grows, but there is a dominant type. So, hold on one second. So a lot of you, I believe, tested as type 4s, and a lot of you also were saying that you were taking certain tests, or you were taking tests over and over, and you kept getting totally different types. And when that happens, that usually means you're a type 4, just because the type 4 is so closely linked to identity. So I will be going over the type 4 as an example. Just remember that the Enneagram is a little more blunt than a lot of the zodiac things that I read, than a lot of the Myers-Briggs things that I read. This thing will call you out, and it's, you have to understand that there are very good things about each type, and there are things that each type struggles with. So just because I'm talking about type 4, don't feel like I'm coming for you. Just understand that these are the things that I know about the type 4. A lot of my friends are type 4s, so don't feel like I'm coming after you. I'm just trying to let you know honestly and bluntly about what these things are. So this is another thing of if you feel like you are kind of not sure where your Enneagram lies, there's something called the Enneagram childhood wounds. Okay, so we're gonna go into a little bit of therapy here. So each type has this thing that affected them that affected them more through their childhood somehow, that kind of created that type for them, or if they are this type, then this specific thing in their childhood had more of a toll on them. So for type 1s, your childhood wound, I pulled up my notes. It's type 1s feel like they were never right, that they could never do anything right, everything was criticized, that they weren't good enough. They were, so with that, the type 1 always feels like that they need to be better than they are currently, that they need to, that they're not doing enough, or they're not doing good enough. And so that's something that the type 1 as a child through their life will struggle with. And now a lot of you are asking, I'm a type 5, right? So growing up, I didn't feel like this, because if somebody was like, you're not good enough, I was like, okay, nobody cares, I don't care if you think that. But type 1s will internalize that. That's something that really, really sticks with them. So, if I grew up, so say, I had a sibling, maybe I had a twin sister who's a type 1 and I'm a type 5. If our parents said, you're not good enough, I would have been like, sucks to suck. Whereas my type 1 twin sister, hypothetically, it would really, really inflict on them, okay? So moving on to type 2. Type 2s are the sweetest people. They are the teddy bears, and these are the helpers, okay? They're humanitarians. They feel like they need to give to get, right? So a lot of the time, type 2s didn't feel like they were loved enough as children, or like just generally in their life. And again, this doesn't mean that you had a bad childhood. This is just something that might have internalized as a child and you just don't know. So, they probably didn't feel like they got enough love. So in return, they felt like maybe if I give more love, I'll get more love. And that is the childhood wound of type 2. Type 3s, which are some of my favorite people, these are interesting types. They are very reward-based. So type 3s, they identify themselves with what they achieve. So it doesn't matter if they are deemed as a good person, it's more of what they have to show that they have done to feel like they're worth something. So yeah, a lot of the time it's because if their performance is not identified or not noticed, if their performance is ignored or criticized, that really, really affects the type 3, because they internalize what they offer, what they do, right? Type 4s, which is the one that I'm going to be using as an example because I want to call all of you out. Just kidding, I don't. So type 4s are the little, I like to call them my little emotional friends, because they are the center of the heart in the Enneagram. They feel like emotions, they feel so much, and their childhood wound is being abandoned. Okay, so their deepest fear is being abandoned and not having anything that is unique or specifically identified with them, right? So if you're a type 4, you might find yourself being very expressive with the way that you dress, with the things that you say, with the music that you listen to, and you make sure that that is known because you want that identity. The fear of type 4s in general is that you have no significant identity. So famous 4s, think about, I put this in the Discord, think about Edgar Allan Poe or Johnny Depp. These people have this specific trademark to them, and that's because that's what they built, that's what they made for themselves, because they're type 4s. They want to be a unique person. Yes, fear of being uninteresting, I guess. That's a very good one. I think the 4, struggles with that a lot. But they're some of the most interesting people that you'll meet. A lot of the time they have that kind of like strange quirk that you're just like, I've never met anybody else like you. And that's the fear. They don't want to be the person that is not like that. Temperance, hold on, where are you? I just saw your thing come up and I need to make you a mod. But I don't know where your name is, so. Yes, Callie, you're a 4. Okay, Callie is now a mod. I don't know where Temp is. There she is, a founder mod. Okay, next, type 5. This is my type, okay? So type 5s are, I covered the type 4, right? The emotional childhood wound is like not being seen, not being noticed. So type 5s, they feel, so intrusion, that is the childhood wound. Type 5s really don't like feeling exposed or feeling like there's an intrusion in their privacy. So I'm a very, very territorial person, whether that means my physical space, my personal space, my thoughts, my emotions, my relationships. I'm territorial and I despise being intruded upon. So that's just a 5 thing. I don't like feeling exposed. I don't like feeling like, I don't like when people just barge into my room. That will get you kicked out. So type 5s growing up, it's the intrusion that will lead the type 5s to understand that you're a type 5. So type 6s are the loyalists. They are the family people, I always think, when I think about a type 6, I think about like a white picket fence and a happy family and a stable job, because type 6s, their childhood wounds they didn't like the unpredictableness of whatever situation they might have been in. And so like literally this could be the smallest thing that isn't traumatizing, but it's something that you internalized for your whole life, or something that you just didn't like feeling unstable. And the biggest fear for type 6s are disloyalty, and are they're being not protected, not like no stability. That's a fear for type 6s, okay? Almost done. Type 7s are kind of a little bit of the opposite of type 6s. They are very much the spontaneous type, okay? So type 7s, their fears are, they didn't have the nurturing that they needed, or at least they didn't have it for the duration that they needed, right? So a lot of the time, type 7s are the spontaneous type. They're the ones that want, the zest of life, and they want to go out on the spontaneous vacations, and they'll do all the crazy things because it's fun. But in reality, that zest of life is actually just to keep themselves distracted, because type 7s hate feeling any negative emotions, which is why type 7s are always the happy ones. They're always fun, they're always excited, and they like to focus on the positive, and they hate the negative emotions, and that's like really scary for them. So that's why they like to be very very exciting, because they like to what's the word? They like to dull the negative emotions. Type 8s are my other favorite types. These people, their childhood wound is not feeling safe. So in some point in their life, throughout their life, they've always struggled not feeling safe. They have felt a lack of protection. So type 8s, as a personality, when they're dominant type 8s, they're fiery people. They're very protective. They are the type of, yes, I will, temperance. They are the type that will protect you, because, so if anybody's ever seen the movie Whiplash, that's my favorite like correlation. If you have not, it's a really good one. But if you've ever seen that movie, the teacher is a type 8. He's very abrasive. There's not a lot of nurturing and like love in there because he's very much like blunt, but they're very protective figures, okay? Last one, and then I'll go over wings. Type 9s are these people, they're super nurturing, but they're really passive. And that's not always a bad thing. You know, I think when people say passive, you think passive aggressive, and that's not always a bad thing. They are the peacemakers. They don't like confrontation. They don't want to fight with you. They want to do their best to just meet in the middle somewhere and make everything fine again, right? So type 9s were, a lot of the time, childhood, lifetime, they felt like they were neglected, ignored, they felt like they were kind of invisible. And because if they did express any like emotions, or if they did try to bring up a problem, it was met with a backlash. So instead of bringing the confrontation to the table, they just decided, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with it. Sorry if it's loud, there's traffic. But 9s would just keep away from any confrontation because they didn't want that backlash. So that is that is the childhood wounds of each type. I'm gonna go over wings really quick because that tends to confuse people. So like I said, if you are Jamie, anyone trying to judge what types their exes were? That's funny. Okay, so wings, right? This is the graph of the Enneagram, right? So find your type here. I also, again, left a link down below, so you're more than welcome to click on that and just listen to me in the background and check it out. But this is the link here, or the graph here, and find your type. And you'll see that, so I'm a type 5, right? So my wing is either a wing 6 or a wing 4. And the only thing that means is that you'll find like I'm a dominant type 5, and I might take upon traits that are more like a 6 or more like a 4. I personally am a 5 with a wing 4, okay? So you'll see that I have a lot of 4 type traits as well, but I am a dominant type 5, which really messes me up because 5s are very in their head, they're very logic, they dislike and feel like emotions are worthless and annoying, whereas 4s are emotions, so it's really confusing for me. But you know, that's a thing. So I'm sure that 4s with type 5 wings feel the same. But that's basically the thing. So if you find your type, if you're type 1, you might have, oh, you know what's fun is if you're type 7 and you have a wing 6, right? You're probably a very spontaneous person, but it's also, you know, you're like kind of like easygoing, down to earth, you're a lot of fun, and you might have a little bit of anxiety because type 6s are always anxious. That's like their whole thing. And then if you're a type 7 with an 8 wing, you're kind of like fun and spunky, but you have this like bite. God, I love 8s. They're amazing. Anyway, so with that said, again, I really would suggest that you click on the link down below and check out your own type. You can do this now or later. However, we're going to look at the growth and the stress of each type. And like I said, the type 4s are going to be the people who I'm going to touch on. So type 4s, so again, you'll see that all of these types have like little connections, right? So type 4s will connect to either a 2 or a 4, depending. And this can shift between days, between months, between like wherever you are in your life. But generally type 4s, if they're in a stressed mindset, they're gonna start to act like an unhealthy 2. Okay, so unhealthy 2s, because there's different levels, right? So if you have a dominant type, you're gonna be at an average level, and the way types react to certain level or certain things in their life with stress, or if they're unhealthy, you know, they'll change personality traits, but each one is very distinct. So, you know, say I have a stressed out 4, right? This stressed out 4, their job is going crazy, they just fought with their spouse, whatever. They're going to go into an unhealthy 2 for that day, for that week. So the unhealthy 2, you're going to start seeing all these traits from that 2. Okay? Jamie, good question. They're not going to act like an unhealthy 4. That's confusing. It is. So the stress is like your day-to-day stress, right? It's not anything that is like detrimental. So if you are going through something that is really, really impactful, and it's you're like your whole being is unhealthy, then that's when you start to act like an unhealthy 4, or when the 4 starts to act like an unhealthy 4. Whereas if you're just having a bad week, you're going to see a lot of those 2 tendencies, if that makes more sense. So the stress level is a little more on the what is it? On like the surfacey level. Hold on, Forrest, you have a question. Let me see. Let's see. Quick question. Is it possible that your wings are domination over your main number? For example, a 2/4 with wings of... So it looks like wait, hold on. So you are saying that you're a type 2 with a wing 3 or a type 4 with a wing 3? Is that what you're saying? Because you could just be a 3 with both of those traits of both the 2s and the 4s. Ashley, it's a lot like Pokemon evolutions, I guess. Yeah, kinda. That's a good way to think about it. Let's see. So, two and 4. Yeah, so maybe you're a type 3 that takes on a lot of those aspects of each type, of each of the wings. I don't like the new test that they have that's free. The one that I took just told you what you were. And this one like gives you percentages and is just kind of like, maybe you're this one, maybe you're that. And I'm just like, just give me an answer. Don't give me maybes. I don't like that. So let's see. Was it Ashley? No. Or is it Jamie? Jamie. Okay. That did answer your question, I hope. Okay. So, yeah, because when I get really stressed out, I act like an unhealthy 7, which is really impulsive, which is not what a 5 does. 5s like to plan. We play chess in everything that we do, like conversations in our life, the thing that we're going to do today, literally like everything we're going to do, we play chess in our head first and we have a plan. Whereas, I'll answer your question in just a sec. Whereas if I'm stressed out that day, I will take on unhealthy traits of a 7 and I am impulsive. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out and buy 80 plants and that'll make me feel better. And I'm going to take a drive and you know what? Maybe I'll just go to Vegas today. Maybe that's what I'll do. And then I'll, it's just like all of this is fine. And that's what happens to an unhealthy 5 or to a stressed out 5. So somebody had a really good question. Okay, I'm in confusion. How do people understand which types they go into stress and go into growth? So go to that link down below and you'll find your type here and it'll tell you. So go to the link down below and then you can find your own type and it'll tell you which one is your growth and which one is your stress. So the 4 stresses into an unhealthy 2 and grows into a healthy 1. Okay? So you'll just see the traits in there. But again, it's kind of like, think of more like the wings. You have the dominant type. So if you're constantly stressed, you're going to just become an unhealthy 4 with a lot of unhealthy 2-wing traits. It's kind of like a little confusing, but I promise, the more you kind of get more into it, especially with your own type, it makes a little more sense. Okay, so say you're a 4 and you had the worst week ever and you're stressed. 4s, because they're emotional, you'll see a lot of self-pity. You'll see a lot of like manipulation almost. And this can go, I'm saying these things in very blunt terms, but this can literally go from, you're right, Lancel. It could be like one of those little lines. You'll see that this can go from little things of, if you're a stressed four and you go out with a friend for coffee and you're just kind of like, oh, but I'm just so broke. Sorry, I can't. Like, I had to work. I didn't get paid. I'm super broke and I just like never get money. So then you're kind of manipulating your friend into feeling bad for you and giving you that pity, and then maybe your friend will buy you coffee. And we have all done this at one point. Don't lie to me. But could fours work to self-manipulation? Ooh, I'm sure you could, because fours are like some of the most creative people, they just have to be able to separate their emotions from, the situation. And that's the hardest thing for fours to do. So again, stressed out four is kind of they're gonna make a lot of the, ew, oh God, no, I accidentally killed a fly with my hand. Oh no, that was uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. Okay, anyway. They're going to become very, it's self-deprecating is a lot of what fours will do when they're very stressed, when they don't feel good. And it's kind of, it almost, the worse it becomes, right? Like if you just have a bad day, it might just be the coffee thing and you're just like, oh, I'm really broke, everything sucks right now. But the worse it becomes, the more, y'all are really upset about this fly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It becomes more and more distinct and a little more aggressive. So, they're gonna kind of start to feel like everybody owes them something, okay? And I've, like I said, I have a lot of four friends, and this has happened. So, for example, I had a friend who was very much in a bad space, and she came over and she basically told me that I owed her a lot of money, which I didn't. But it was this whole thing, like it was just all this self-deprecation of like how awful things are going in her life, and like how she is broken and how she's psychotic and how she can never do anything right. And it was just like really uncomfortable and kind of trying to guilt me into something. And then she was getting a little more aggressive about like, I'm fine, I'm just a burden, like it can get to that point. I'm not saying that if you're a four, this is just you. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you get into a stressed out situation and the more stressful it is, the more it can become. And so that's kind of like, you'll start seeing that, right? Whereas when you see a type 4, right? A type 4 grow, okay, you'll see a lot of the healthy 1 traits. So if you meet a healthy 1, it kind of reminds you of a very healthy 4. So the cool thing is about 4s, they're so creative, right? Kurt Cobain, a lot of people believe that he was a 4. Unhealthy 4, yes, but he was a 4. He had this creativeness about him. Everybody, he is Kurt Cobain. He's not like anybody else. He just is Kurt Cobain. And that's kind of like the dream of a 4, is to just be them and nobody else. So when a type 4 is in their growth, right, they have a lot of that, they're feeling good about themselves and things are going well. They start to be a lot more objective, because 4s, they have such an emotional quality about them. They start to become a lot more objective about themselves and have a little bit more integrity with themselves. So they're able to step aside and be like, you know what? I was a little too upset about that, or I was a little too excited about that, or whatever. They're able to step away and kind of see the bigger picture rather than just making everything about themselves. They see the bigger picture. And that's something that's really important about every type, is that you'll see the more unhealthy a type is, the more you start to see these people actually in your life. If you see unhealthy types of them, they tend to be more focused on themselves. So the more focused any type is on themselves, the more unhealthy this type tends to be. Whereas the more healthy any type tends to be, the more open they seem, the bigger perspective they have. It's more about their cause and their community and their like the bigger picture for their lives, right? So you'll start to see that with any of the types. You have another question. Where is it? Let's see. Oh, hi, June. Haha. I was like, I can't read your name. I'm sorry. Do you use it in your craft to determine when people need to grow in some way? Oh, so that's something really interesting is I always joke that I use the Enneagram the way other people use zodiac signs, because I'll meet somebody and I'll say, you're a type 4 and I know it. Or like, oh, you're a type 8 and I know it. And because I've been low-key obsessed with this, I am pretty good at, gauging the types, and even if they're unhealthy, but I don't think I use it in my craft, like specifically for rituals or spells as much, but I do use it to gauge the energy of that person. So the thing is, I know that I have specific people in my life that give me the same energy as other people that I'll meet. So immediately I'll know what that type is. So my dad, for example, is a type 8. And my mom, for example, is a type 9. And Jamie, do I usually get it right with people? Actually, yes, I'm pretty excited about it. I can usually narrow it down to at least 2 different types if I don't know the person all too well. I can be like, oh, you're either a type this or type that. And most of the time I can usually gauge it pretty well. But, so, my dad is a type 8, my mom is a type 9. And when I start meeting people, for example, there's a woman in my coven, there was one of my old roommates, they both gave me, like, I both looked up to them kind of as an older sister or like a mom type figure, and I didn't really know why. I wasn't even close to one of them, and I didn't even really know why I felt that way. But then of course I was like, take the Enneagram, and guess what? They were both type 9s. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think kind of trying to apply it into your life actually makes it more interesting to gauge the energies of the people around you. What rituals would you personally recommend for 4s? That's a really good question. I think I probably recommend a lot of meditation about, like, with the topic of seeing the bigger picture, and kind of like, because 4s internalize their or not internalize, they feel their emotions so much. And the ritual, I mean, it's not really like a huge ritual, but like the meditation focusing on just noting the feeling and being like, okay, I'm feeling that. Why? Or just, I'm feeling that. I am being super emotional right now, or maybe I'm being like way too excited right now. Or 4s fall in love like this. Like, they are romantics, and I think that's a big part. Let's see. Hold on. So this is a really good thing, is, again, resource down below. But the resource down below, when you click on your own type, it tells you personal growth recommendations for each type. So, and another thing, actually, let me link this app. I will link an app after this is over in about like 20 minutes, but it's basically like a journaling app. I like it a lot. It's kind of like very gentle shadow work. So every day, it's kind of like Mad Libs, right? So every day it'll say something that, you know, makes me upset is, and then it'll be blank. And you don't have to write like a whole thing. You can literally just say, you know, people chewing really loudly. That's it. And it's just like kind of a very slow introduction to shadow work, very surface level, not surface level, but like very gentle, whereas some shadow work you like really get into it and it's just too intense if you just jump into it. So I'll link it down below. But yeah, shadow work is a huge thing that I think in incorporating what you know about yourself with your type, doing the shadow work with your type, doing the meditations with your type, and just understanding that each type brings so much to the table. I think a lot of people with the Enneagram, because it's so blunt, is people kind of like don't like it as much because it's so much, you know, like it kind of shoves all of our flaws in our face. And really, like you kind of have to just accept the fact that with that amazing uniqueness and creativity and being so individual of each of a type 4, you also just have the baggage of feeling so much. There's going to be pros and cons. You can't have it all, right? So, you know, I think really looking into, again, links down below. I've said it like 10 times, but do it. It's making sure to look and see where you feel like you're at. I have definitely read my type 5 healthy, average, and unhealthy levels, and I've been at all of them. So it's not something that, oh, I'm at an unhealthy level, I'm going to stay there. That's not how it is. But type 5, you know, you can look at the addictions of each type of what, whether that is being really reclusive and isolated and emotionally, you know, cut off. So that's the thing. Love compatibility. Any examples? Oh, they have that actually. I mean, compatibility just in general, but they do have each one. So again, the Enneagram is it's less saying these types work the best together. It's more so this is what each grouping can provide in a good way and provide, and these are the problems that they can have. So that's one thing that I like more about the Enneagram is that, you know, a lot of the time when I meet people and I say, oh, my best friend is a Sagittarius and I'm a Virgo, and people are like, what? That doesn't, how does that, that can never work, you know? And it's just weird because they feel like that is just a thing. Whereas the Enneagram, if I say, oh, my best friend is a type 1 and I'm a type 5, it just tells you the good things and the power dynamics between a type 1 and a type 5 and the problems that might occur. It doesn't tell you that you are more or less likely to be compatible, because people are people, they're complex. You can't just put them in a box of like, I'm a type 5 and now you know everything about me. Is it good to work on feeling more emotions as a type 5? Yes, it is, but I think it's there's a whole podcast on them. So I will link everything. I didn't do that before I got on because, you know, I was in a little bit of a rush, but I will link podcasts for you so that you can listen to each type. And there is one that I like a lot that they have a panel of different types. So they'll have like 4 people of type, oh, thanks Temp. They have 4 people like of all type 5s, but 2 are wing 4s and 2 are wing 6s, and they ask them all questions and have them talk. So yeah, but you know, so type 5s, like I think a lot of people think that we just don't feel any emotions, when that's not true. It's just really hard to process them. So people close to me have learned to, you know, if I am in a very upsetting situation or somebody tells me something very upsetting, and I have no emotion, it's just because I just don't know how to process it yet. I don't know what I feel. I don't feel anything in the moment. But then, give me like 2 to 3 business days, and then I'll know, all of a sudden I'll be like, why am I freaking out over like coffee, or like over the fact that I spilled a little of my tea and now I'm freaking out. I don't know why, but it's because I processed the event 2 to 3 business days prior. So that is kind of like how I do it. Whereas 4s, if I tell them something really upsetting, boom, that is the emotion. They feel it. They know exactly what they're feeling. They will show you what they're feeling. They will tell you what they're feeling. Whereas 5s, somebody could be like, hey, your cat passed away. I'd be like, yeah. Whereas somebody tells a 4, your cat passed away. It is waterworks. It is, I'm heartbroken. I'm freaking out. We need to do a funeral service right now. Like, it's all of those things. Olivia's failed. Thank you, Lancel. That's exactly what it looks like, is when somebody tells me something really blunt, it's just kind of like, do ones conceal all of their emotions, or what does it say? Or just anger? So ones are, I don't think ones really conceal all of, I think it's more of, they conceal the emotions that they feel like is in the wrong. So if they don't feel like happiness or being joyful in a certain situation is the correct thing to do, they'll conceal it. It's not the specific situation or specific emotion that they conceal. It's the, as a 1, I can't get angry and I cry. I madly cry. Let's see. No, I don't think so. I mean, like, I think it's more of just the frustration that ones might feel, because ones are, again, ones are the people who want to, they're moral compasses. They want to do the right thing. They want to, and the right thing is in their morals. That doesn't mean that they're trying to do the right thing in society unless their morals match with society, right? So you have to remember that. They're wanting to do the right thing. They are trying to justify everything. So the frustration of maybe they feel combated. So in their morals, they're thinking this is right, whereas somebody is telling them this is wrong, and that combats it, because their whole identity or their whole point of being a 1 is to be right, if that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. So when you're feeling that turmoil of, but I feel like I'm in the right, but they're telling me I'm wrong, and that just doesn't make sense, because like, I'm trying to do the right thing, but now I don't know what the right thing is. That is the worst situation for a type 1. Like, feeling like they're in the wrong will send them straight into a depression. I mean, that's the easiest way of a consistent feeling like they're not doing the right thing. Type 1s are great though. They make really good, like, emotional leaders and all that stuff. Question from Discord: 2s and 9s are hard to yes, they are. So 2s and 9s are both very nurturing people, and I think that's why they get mixed up a lot of the time. Whereas 2s are more, sir, 2s are more so about helping, like, being the person that's helping and being the person that is providing everything, whereas 9s are more about just keeping, like, not confrontational, right? So they are very, very similar, and a lot of the time I find that 2s and 9s are, they're friends unless the 2 is too needy, because the 9s are very reclusive. They're a little more introverted. They don't really love being, like, pressured into anything. So yeah, but it's more of the 2s are doing it to be loved. The 9s are doing it to have peace. Yes. Thank you, June. Yes. I'm a type 5. I will ramble. That's a thing. If you talk to a type 3, they'll give you the bullet points. They're way better at that. Type 5s will not do that. If you look at the podcasts where they talk to type 3s and type 5s, the timestamp, type 3s is like 20 minutes and the type 5s is like 45 minutes. And I'm like, accurate. Yeah. So Nike, yeah, 2s with the stressed 8-wing is so interesting because actually Dylan's a type 2. We all love Dylan. So yeah, Dylan is a type 2. So you know, when a 2 gets really stressed out, they have they're usually this like coddly, cute, you know, really what is it? They're really like teddy bears, and they are just the givers. They will give, and then the second they the second they are stressed out, they automatically turn into the 8, which is kind of, people see them as the steamrollers. They're very intense, and type 8s will just they will point the finger at you, and they are ruthless, and it turns into like, no, this is how it's gonna go, and very stubborn, you know. So interesting stuff. You know, the type 5 is not the chatty woman on the street, because I totally am not. I think the type 2 is more of the chatty. Look, Temp, I'm coming for the 8s because they're intense, but I love, they're one of my favorite types, so it's fine. Let's see, Emily. So yeah, you won't have to use the link down below to take the test, because now they're charging for it, which is ridiculous. You'll have to just type in Enneagram to Google or whatever that you use, and you'll just you'll find the first one. It usually gives you like a percentage, which is stupid, but gotta work with what you got, Okay, so does anybody have any questions? We have a little over 10 minutes. We have like 12 minutes. Oh yeah, okay, so if you guys need something to laugh about, type in Enneagram memes in Instagram, and some of them you're kind of like, that's funny, and some of them you're like, please don't come for me like that. Please don't do that. Nike, what type are you again? I don't remember. How would I describe a type 1 with a 2-wing? Confused. I'm just kidding. They're usually humanitarians because they want to do the right thing, but it's usually doing the right thing in their mind is giving as much as they possibly can. Giving as much. Rude as Enneagram? Oh my gosh, I'm looking that up. Oh wait, I'm using my phone. I can't do that. Rude ass Enneagram. I will keep that. Oh my goodness. So you do have some of you have questions about how the Enneagram can link up to astrology. I am not your person. I have never really connected too much to astrology. I use it more as like, kind of like aha, there's that Virgo in me, but I really don't actually know a lot about astrology. So Nike wing, 2-wing 3. Interesting. Okay, so you are like the power helper. I see. Where you just like can't do enough. You're like literally always doing something. You just need to sleep sometimes and not help people, is what you're saying. Okay. Can type 4s be teachers? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, any type can be anything. It's not saying that you're put into a box. It's just kind of giving you an idea of the patterns that you might have as a person and being able to work on that. So that's not saying that, oh, I'm a type 5, I am only this, and this, and I would be best at this, and this, or whatever. Like, it's more of just understanding the patterns that I personally have, and so loud, and being able to strengthen the patterns that I think, that are beneficial, and being able to recognize and work on the patterns that are detrimental to me. So, yes, if that makes any sense. Oh, girl, you have that wing 3. Validation is a thing. So when you give to people, you're kind of like, did I do good? Did I do good? Tell me I did good. Where's my trophy? Okay. Any other questions? Question mark? We have like 10-ish minutes. But like I said, I'll link podcasts. I will link that shadow work journaling app. It's not witchy. It's just kind of like a very light journal app that takes like 2 minutes every day. Can we grow past the weakness of our type and into another type? So this is something I haven't heard of yet. I'm not an expert on the Enneagram. I'm just somebody who like loves it way too much. Okay, so you need to make sure that you do your other research and listen to podcasts and read other books, because I'm just a person, but let's see. But I'm pretty sure you stay with your dominant type, and you can have, like, I've known type 5s who have a lot of 2 tendencies. That's a thing. Like I said, the Enneagram it even says in a lot of the other resources that I've read that, like, this isn't a box. Like, it doesn't mean, oh, if you're taking on a little bit of these things from, if you're a 5 with like 2 tendencies, then are you a 5? Like, no, that's not how it works. You're not in a box. This is a big generalization of people, and I think it just it connects you really well to, the things that you can understand about yourself and patterns and whatnot. Winter Witch, it is that app. Long Walks, yes, I love that app. Would the notifications for the shadow app be ridiculous? No, I turn them off. Actually, I do have them on, but it just reminds me to take, so you can set it for a certain time, and I have it at like noon. So if I haven't like written my one word for that day, then it'll just be like, oh, hey, there's this, but you can turn them off. It's not going to be like a whole thing. I had some discourse between people about the type 1 and type 8. Do they have similar traits? So I think the reason that's a thing is because type 8s, when type 8s, a lot of the time you'll find to be like teachers, because they're so blunt about things, and there's very much like, this is the system and this is how it works. And because of that specific reasoning, 1s have that moral thing of, this is the right thing, this is the right way to go. And I think unhealthy 1s tend to act a little bit like 8s, just because unhealthy 1s are like, I'm very stubborn, this is how it's done and no other way, it's my way or the highway. Whereas 8s can seem like that even if they're healthy, but 1s are doing it more of a moral standpoint of, this is what I believe is right, so you should believe this is right. Whereas 8s are more of, if you don't do this, you're not gonna grow, like healthy 8s. Healthy 8s are very much, they will push you to the edge to get you to grow for yourself. So it's the similar thing, but it's the health-wise. Do you know if mental illness personality influence this? You know what? I think it might. Oh man. I think it might, but at the same time, I really don't know nearly enough about mental illnesses to even get into that. So I'm not the person to ask. I'm definitely not a psychologist, so I couldn't help you there. But I know that, so like very, very, very unhealthy 5s. Like if I am at my wit's end, I am not in a good place, and I have been not in a good place for let's say 10 years. a lot of the time, you'll see like fives not become, but tend to take on a lot of traits of like sociopaths, and they'll become very conspiracy, like deranged almost. But I don't think that it's a mental illness. I feel like it's just if you get to that point in your life, you can become very unstable, if that makes sense. My husband sounds like an 8. 8s are protectors. You know, healthy 8s are amazing. They're amazing teachers. They're really they're just kind of like that like fire, and I don't know. I like them a lot. But yeah. 8s are amazing. I like them a lot. I think they get a bad rap a lot of the time in the Enneagram. People are like, "Oh man, 8s." But I really like 8s. Let's see. Not a psychologist, just a witch who can read everybody's personalities. Yes. But it's helpful because, you know, with coworkers, with bosses, I've used it, and it helps me because I'm a 5, right? I like to calculate things. I like to calculate interactions. If you have a conversation with me, I'm calculating the whole time of what I'm going to say next, how you're going to react to it, what are my options. Like, it's ridiculous. But being able to understand, oh, my boss is an 8, so if he thinks that I'm trying to control the way he's doing things or whatever, he's going to react badly. Where, you know, like it gives me a good way of understanding how people react to things, so I understand how to better communicate the things that I need, or the better being of the situation with that person, if I have a hunch or if I know their type, if that helps. So that's why I think it's really helpful, and especially with yourself, the reason the Enneagram is so important in your craft is because understanding yourself and your patterns, and understanding things more so about your strengths and your weaknesses, and working on that and coming to light with that, really, really helps you. Okay, so it really, really helps just understanding where your shadow might be, right? And it gives you a really good stepping stone and a really good starting point on that. And like I said, again, links down in the description. Click on your type. So once you've taken the test and you kind of have an idea of what type you are, look at that page of the type of each type, okay? Because this page gives you so much information, and it's pretty brief. I mean, for as much information as it gives you. It gives you like the healthy levels, and it gives you compatibility with every type. And again, it's not saying you're better with this type or that type. It's just saying the strengths and the weaknesses each type might have. And say you're like, oh, I identify with type 9, but I think I might be a type 3, then it has a misidentification type. So you can click on each one and it'll tell you, you know, that. And at the very bottom, it gives you personal recommendations on each type. So if I'm a type 5, you know, let me see, I'll give you this one. Let me find it really quick. So if I'm a type 5, my recommendations for personal growth is to notice when I'm thinking and speculating too much and I'm too much in my head, and it takes me out of the experience that I'm having now. That's something that is a huge thing for me, that I'm always up here and I'm not really like present, because I'm just thinking about things all the time. So and 5s have a really tough time being physical. So, you know, like dancing is really, really, really important for me. So once I took up dancing, that I found my mental and my physical well-being skyrocket. Good night, Lancel. See you later. I'm also incredibly indecisive, because 5s have this thing of like, we calculate everything, so we see the objective of everything, of like, oh, I see all of the opportunities, and I can kind of have an idea with all the variables of how the outcomes are going to go. but I don't know which one to pick. So we have to sit on it for like, again, 3 to 7 business days to make our actual decision. And so it gives you personal recommendations, personal growths. And, it's tough to look at these sometimes and look at them and be like, oh, yeah, okay, I do that. Or, oh, I've been a very unhealthy 5. It's tough to look at it, but the awareness is the biggest thing. So, wow, look at me. I'm right on 2:00. That is the Enneagram. I hope that this was helpful. You all got a little, early access. I think I will make this live because I think the Enneagram is an important thing. Even if you're not spiritual or, witchy, I think it's just a really important thing to be self-aware of certain patterns that you may or may not have within yourself and relationships and situations. So I'm going to link all of those below. I'm also going to type up a bunch of resources and all that jazz and put that in the Tea Time Discord. So if you don't want to wait for me to do that here, I will also be doing that in the Discord. But thanks for coming to the live, you all. I really appreciate that you guys do the tea times. And oh, it's gonna be really loud for a second. I'm sorry. I hope everybody's okay. I know, pro YouTuber Forest, yes. Good, Jamie. I'm glad you're liking this community. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really awesome. But yes, so I will post the links and the resources. I think it's really important to check it out. And yeah, get your friends, get your family, get your significant others to do it, because I think understanding that has made me, my relationships with other people, understanding their types and understanding my type has made it so much more healthy with how I react and how everything is. So yeah, I think that's it. Okay, well, that's it for you guys. I will talk to you later. Thank you so much for engaging in tea time. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the Enneagram as much as I did. This is something that I'm a little too obsessed with. So, I may not know a lot about the Zodiac, but if you want to talk Enneagram, you hit me up, you let me know. And yeah, so you guys have a good rest of your night, good rest of your day, morning, wherever you are, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.